Welcome back. Welcome back. In our last video, we mastered variables, the building blocks of automation. Today, we put them to work. We are talking about pre-request scripts, the code that runs before your request is ever sent. This is where the magic happens, where you can generate dynamic data on the fly and handle complex authentication without ever touching the request itself. So, what are they? A pre-request script is a small block of JavaScript code that Postman executes right before it sends your API request. Let's look at a simple example first for creating dynamic data. So imagine you need the current timestamp. So you can go to the Postman and there is a scripts tab and you have pre-request and post-request. Pre-request is the one that runs before you send the request. So that's where we are going to put this simple JavaScript code. So in the pre-request body we can write something like this. PM is the postman, and what this script does is it gets the current date, the timestamp, and then stores it in this variable current underscore timestamp. And this is a pre-request. So this script is run before sending. When you execute an API, this script is executed first. So the postman gets the current timestamp and puts it in the variable, and we can now use this variable in our URL or in the body, as you can see in this example. So we have this variable here surrounded by curly braces, which denotes that this is a variable. So let's click the send button. Script gets the current time and then sets it here. So this API response is same as the one that we put in the body. So you can see the time changes every time I click the send request. The next time I do the send request, the postman sets the current timestamp and sends it to the server. Server responses with the new timestamp. So no more manual updates. So we have just now automated the timestamp value in our body. So no more manual updates. But now let's tackle the real game changer, dynamic authentication. Many APIs use tokens that expire in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and you need to fetch a new one periodically. Let's automate this entire flow using a clean professional pattern. For this demo, we will use a public test API from dummyjson.com. Our goal is to create one dedicated request, just one request that logs in, saves the token, so all our requests are always authenticated. This avoids any timing issue and it is easy to debug. So first let's create a new request. So let's create a new collection here, and then we call it as login, and we'll set a post request with a URL login. So new request, and this is a post. So this request gets the token from the server. So the endpoint for this URL is /login that are from the dummyjson.com site, and we go to the body tab and then we select the raw JSON format, which is the default, and then we use the username and password as a JSON format. So we have the username and password sent here, and when I hit the send button, you can see we get the token. So this is a valid username and password, so we get the access token. This token expires after a few minutes, so we cannot keep sending this token, we cannot keep fetching this token after every few minutes or after it expires and then use it in our subsequent request. So we need to automate this. So how can we do that? We are going to run this whole post thing as an automated JavaScript. How is that? You simply go to the collection and then you have a scripts tab, and then in the scripts tab you simply go to the pre-request and use this JavaScript, not this one. Let me post the full script. Yeah, so this part is the post request. So what we saw here is the post request that gets the token for us. So we have actually created an equivalent JavaScript for this post request. The post, the URL, and the response, and we get the token and store it in the variable. This JavaScript that we, as you can see here, does the same thing. It sends the post request with a body with the credentials and then a callback function which then gets the response, gets the token, and then sets the token value to this variable. So we no longer need this extra step. So I can delete this, because essentially what this collection script does is it executes the script. So whenever you might have 5, 10, 50, 100 requests under this collection. So whenever you run any API request under this collection, let's say I'm going to run this get API request. So what we get is unauthorized token. That means something is wrong. So let's go and see here. Yes, this should be access token. So let's save this and try again. It worked. How? The magic is that since we have the script in the collection level, at the collection level, whatever API request we have, we might have hundreds of get, post, put collections, delete request. So any request that you run under this collection, when you hit the send button or anything, when you execute any request under this collection, what Postman does is it goes to run this script, the pre-script. So here it runs the post request, gets the token, sets the token, and then it runs our actual API that we wanted to run. So this way, any request under this collection, when you execute that, when you hit the send button, what happens is this get request does not run. Before this is run, what Postman runs is this pre-script, getting the token and substituting to this auth underscore token, and then executes a get request. Since it executed this script first, it has already set the value for this environment variable, which we are using it here, and then the actual get request gets executed. And since we have a valid token, we get a 200 response. And the benefit of this is we are not only automating the variables, making it dynamic, but we are also automating the token fetching process. So let's say you come back after lunch and you click the send button. The token which we had previously used is no longer valid, but there is no problem, because when you hit the send button, the Postman is going to run this pre-request, which is nothing but sending the post to this endpoint, the token endpoint with a valid credential, getting the token, and then it's going to use that updated token here. And so when you come tomorrow or after 2 days, you don't need to fetch the token manually. It is fetched automatically thanks to the JavaScript pre-script at the collection level. So you can execute any script under this collection and your API response will be 200 OK. So that is the true power of scripting in Postman. You can automate your authentication flow to be clean, reliable, and easy to manage. So in our next video, we will look at the other side of the coin, writing tests to validate the responses we get back. Thanks for watching.